So, the real stars of today, of course, are our speakers who've come from some distance, many of them around the country, to be here to share their passion and enthusiasm. And the comment was made just before coffee time that we think there could be lots of what we might call light bulb moments around the room today as people get hold of this subject and recognise, or compare it, I should say, to what they're doing at home. And I put myself firmly in that category of the way in which I'm managing, with a small I, grass, compared to how we should be managing grass. So I'm really excited for what we're going to hear today. First speaker is Shannon. And Michael used to work for British seed houses. He's known to many of you, I'm sure, in this room. He took the bold step of starting to farm full-time, and he has a butchery business now as well to add value to the beef he produces on his farm. He's been a trailblazer in many ways in making the very best of Grassland, Scotland. And he's just become a father for the 8th time. So if ever there's a guy talking about productivity, then it's going to be Michael Shannon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to hear a few things today about some of the stuff that I do on the farm. My farm is, I'm in Lanarkshire. I know you don't have a grazing group in Lanarkshire. We're obviously not clever enough for that yet. But in Lanarkshire, it's 207 acres. We're finishing, it's all bought in cattle and they're all native breed. We're trying to do everything, we'd like to do everything with Angus's, but unfortunately I can't buy enough Angus's to fit my needs. And we also then run a small flock of Grassland management assistants, which is basically sheep, sorry John, by pun. But they are basically there for grass. And just to follow on from Michael's comment, I am the ultimate bore when it comes to grass. I am totally and utterly obsessed with grass. And everything that I do on my farm, I'm trying to revolve around producing really quality grass. And the reason is we're 100% forage based. We use no hard feeding to finish any of our cattle whatsoever. So in summertime it's all grass. And in winter time we grow kale, or recently we're moving across into hybrid rapes into Swift. We're selling our own meat through our shop in Lanark and online at damndelicious.co.uk. I'll pause here while you all write down the email address. Got it? Okay, so that's what you have to do if you want to listen to me, is buy some meat. damndelicious.co.uk. And the surplus is sold dead weight, and that either goes to Scott Beef or Highland Meats, depends who's paying the most on the day. Before I go any further, just for anybody who is under the misconception that my system is, I run two businesses. I run a butcher's business and I run a farm. And neither one compensates the other. So we sell the meat, the sole trader sells the meat to the limited company that is the butcher's shop. And we sell it every week at the price that's published at the QMS, on the QMS newsletter, the market prices every week. So it gets sold to the shop. We don't take into grades, but we do sell it. So any figures that I give do not include any premium for the butcher's shop. That's a separate system. That's what we're doing. And when Michael first rang me and said about doing this talk today, and he listed out what he wanted us to talk about, and he said the first thing I wanted to, you need to talk about why you do what you do. Well, I'm afraid you're going to hear lots of things today about dry matter yields and increased productivity, etc. I do it for this and nothing else. I am trying to make money. I am limited in the size of the farm I have. It's 207 acres. I'm borrowed to the hilt. I can't buy any more. I'm not willing to pay the rents that my neighbours are willing to pay. So therefore, I have to maximise the productivity from my farm. And the reason why I make as much money, as I've already mentioned, is this. I have 8 children. And for the fast counters here that can look at that picture, in other words, the farmers from Aberdeenshire, there are only 7 in the picture, and that's because one's missing. She wasn't there that day. But the other thing about that photograph is there are 5 girls. So I need to make an awful lot of money. And really, when it comes back to another point of Michael's, the light bulb moment. When does the light bulb moment happen? And I suppose there are really 4 occasions when I had my light bulb moment. And these are them. The photograph in the top left-hand corner are cattle in New Zealand. fattening cattle, being grazed in what's known as the techno system, doing live weight gains of between 2 and 3 kilos a day on grass and forages alone. And the only thing that they were doing differently was they were managing their grass properly. The second photograph, many of you might be familiar with this chap. This is Arthur Davis, who was the farm manager and a key member of the team at Eiger, and he was the farm manager at Bronard Mower. And there's a fence line in the middle. On one side are high sugar grasses, and on the other side are just conventional grasses. And again, that was a light bulb moment for me. If I could show a grass that was higher in sugar and produced more meat or more milk or whatever, just by changing the variety in my grass mixture, then why would I not do it? It's a bit of a no-brainer. This is one of the trips to New Zealand. This photograph here, this is one of the chaps from Southern Ireland that was on the same trip as me. And these are cattle being outwintered in the middle of New Zealand in the South Island. Gutters and mud, bales in the middle of the field. And as we go on through, and that's just another picture of another group of farmers in New Zealand. And the thing that really woke me up while I was in New Zealand, because I was farming just the same as everybody else, but woke me up in New Zealand was this thing. This was opened up, and I discovered that there's a completely different way to farm, because at home, while I was working full time, my job, all I was getting was a tax rebate from the farm, because my income from the job was pretty good. The farm would lose a fortune, and I would get a big tax rebate. That is not the way to run a business. So on my farm, I think I've already emphasised it, grass is king. We have 85 acres, which is rotationally raised with cattle. It's all in paddocks, and at this time of year we take surplus grass out of the system. So there's 7.5 acres mowed last night, which is just surplus. I can't keep up with the grass growth at the moment. And then we have 30 acres of kale, silage and kale. This is basically the rotation on the farm. So everything revolves around producing really high quality young grass. We all know that young grass is the most productive grass we can do. So that is what we're doing. And basically the way it works is you've got the first year, the field will be cut for silage, baled, wrapped, left in the field. Kale will then be sown in that field. The second year, it will go into whole crop. The whole crop is there purely and simple to get something out of the field, and as a nurse crop for the reseed. The grass seed mixture that I use at the moment is, I work with the SAC recommended list. I only choose varieties that have got the top rating for grazing and for quality. Why would you not? Nobody says that I can't cut these varieties. Of course I can, but they're cut as a surplus. Cutting silage is a surplus requirement. It's a management tool. It's not what I'm about. I don't produce silage. And then once the crop is, so we whole crop and reseed it, and then the following year, then we'll graze that with sheep. And the purpose of grazing it with sheep is basically good grassland management to try and tighten the soil up, enhance the clover. It'll get next to no nitrogen, and it basically is just trying to get out of the system. Now, in the summertime, what we'll start off with is we'll start off with 200 cattle. The cattle are all bought at roughly about a year old. We'll travel all over the country trying to find them within Scotland. They're all only Scottish. QMS, satisfied. It's nearly all heifers, and the reason it's nearly all heifers is price. It's as simple as that. I would like to buy bullocks, but it's nearly all heifers, purely and simply because I can't afford to buy the bullocks. And we're finishing from the farm 150 plus cattle per year on an all forage diet. They get nothing else. And the 200 ewes as well, we're finishing all the progeny. I should explain to you is the farm went from 150 to 207 3 years ago. So we're still sort of trying to build the ewe flock up. We're up to where we want to be now. So the cattle grazing, where's the clock? Cattle, in the summertime, the cattle are all grouped in groups. So there are 3 groups travelling around. They're all on daily shifts. One group is on 2-day shift. And what we target is we target a live weight per acre. So I would aim at the start of the season to have about 1,200 kilos of live weight per acre, or 3 bullocks at 400 kilos, heifers 300 kilos, and then that will drop as the summer. So we're following the grass curve the whole way through the system. And what we're targeting is we're looking for a live weight gain. We're aiming for a live weight gain of 1.5 kilos per day for the whole summer. And the whole battle in a grazing system is seed heads. That's what we're doing. We're trying to not have any seed heads. And by grassland management, that is what really is the key to success. And the cost per day for an animal on my farm, and you'll see why I'm interested in this in a wee while, in the summertime is 28 pence a day. That's fertiliser cost only. I'm not counting in things like drenches and that sort of thing, because no matter whether they were set stocked or rotationally grazed, but in my system, to produce the amount of grass I want this year, the fertiliser cost will be 28 pence per day. And this is basically what it's all about, is the grass curve. And you'll all be aware of this, and you'll all be aware of this all across the country. The grass starts off in April or May and starts to grow. It goes like stink and hits about May, June, and this year has been exceptional. We've had a massive peak this year, and then it starts to tail off. And what we try to do is follow that curve, because as soon as that grass gets out of control on us, then the quality starts to drop. We get seed heads. We'll have to get the topper out, and as soon as you get the topper out, you start wasting diesel, etc. Basically, if I have the topper out or I have seed heads on my farm, my summer, I have failed. That is it. I have failed. And the quality of the grass that I will have here will be not up to standard, and therefore my growth rates will plummet with it. So, so the grass is growing, is the yellow line. Our stock numbers are at their absolute peak. At the peak of the grass growing season. The area is reduced. That's the 7.5 acres that we've taken out, so we've tightened up the stocking rates. And then as that 7.5 acres comes back into play later on in the summer, as the grass growth starts to fall, and also my peak harvest time for producing beef is in midsummer. That's when I'll sell off all my surplus, etc. So the numbers will reduce of stock on the farm as well, and then the whole thing expands out. With me so far? Yep. Everybody still awake? Doing well so far then. Being an Irishman, I have some very technical pieces of equipment. This is my portable measuring stick that I take with me every day, and recently it has been every day. Last year I didn't carry it with me so much. The year before I never took it off my foot. But what I'm aiming to do is graze my grass between, I work at grass heights, and I aim to graze my grass at between 10 and 15 centimetres. So that's the area that I aim to graze my grass. And depending on the different times of the year, it depends what height we'll try and graze it down. So this time of the year, we're trying to absolutely graze the living day lights out of it. We want it right down to the board, because if we leave it too long at this stage, later on we get the seed heads. So we'll be grazing right down to 3 and 4 centimetres at this time of year, which is quite a challenge this year. Don't get me wrong, this year the growth has caught, I presume it's caught all of us out. And we're already seeing fields that are set stocked, seed heads already starting to appear in them, cattle wading about and far too much grass. I would suggest that the farmer should have bought an electric fence. My farm is basically, it's a square farm. This is the farmyard in the middle. I'm very lucky, and we've also set it up that the labour on the farm is me and nothing else. I move all the stock around the farm on my own. I don't have any help. I don't even have a dog. And all the roads, etc., I can move cattle quite easily within, well, it's in 2 halves, I should say. Within the central bit, this is the farmyard, and these are all my fields around here. And it's all split off into paddocks. The downside of my farm is there's 150 acres on this side of the road, and there's 100 acres on that side of the road. And that's the main A73, that if you're ever driving through from Abington to Lanark, you're driving right through the middle of our farm. So I'm afraid I do have to get people in to help me to shift across the road. But what we do is we run it 2 separate things. And the way it's laid out here is, this is how we started, was these are all our paddocks. Now don't think that I went out and I've now fenced all these wee paddocks off. I haven't. To start doing my paddock system, in this particular photograph, what I put in were the red lines, and that basically divided these farms. So if we take this field here, the yellow line is the field, and all we did was we put a fence down the middle to split it up. And that gave us the access to be able to put our drinkers in, and all the drinkers have been put in place. It's just an electric fence, 2 wires of electric fence. The whole farm is surrounded by mains power electric fence. We put the blue pipe, the octane pipe for the drinkers is lying along the ground, along the fence line. It's not dug in. There are so many stones in my farm, you wouldn't want to start that. The drinkers are servicing, so the drinkers have been positioned at points where they can service more than 1 paddock. So, for example, that drinker there will service 4 paddocks, 2 on this side and 2 on the other side. And the paddocks are made up and set up using temporary electric fences. There's not paddocks. And the way we know where the paddocks are, at each corner of those paddocks there's a painted post. It's all been marked out. There's a very simple program you can download online called Mapmaker. You can download it for free online to set your paddocks out. And with a bit of work, and you might rip your hair out a wee bit, but it's quite, once you get the hang of it, it's quite easy to work. And all we have done is we have set up, so as you go down the field, there will be 2 yellow posts on either side of the field, and then as you go on down with the next paddock, where the paddock finishes, there will be 2 red posts. Very technical. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And the way it operates is, so it's just temporary electric fences, and there are 3 fences in play every day, creating a moving paddock. So yellow post, red post, yellow post, red, yellow post, and I'm very proud of this bit because I got this to work. And then so the cattle, as the cattle move from that paddock, the fence gets lifted and gets taped down. So the cattle are now in this paddock, and the fence is taken down, put back up again, and creates tomorrow's paddock. And then we do it again. So the cattle move into this paddock, move down, all we do is take the electric fence down, put it up, and you can see the drinkers there and the cattle moving in little groups all around the farm. So every day they're getting a fresh bite. That's the whole point of it all. Quite chuffed with that bit, actually. And I didn't even have to ask one of the kids to help me. In winter time, same system, just done slightly differently. Field is cut for silage, bales are wrapped, put in position, so they're put in position now, usually the week before the Highland Show. The bales are wrapped, put in position, and that is winter feed. There is no machinery goes into that field during the winter time, none whatsoever. The only machinery goes into the field is me, and the cattle, again, there are 2 electric fences, so the first way electric fence is taken down, the cattle step forward and graze that bit, it's put back up again, creates tomorrow's break. This bale, take the wrap off the top, upend the ring feeder, roll it over, drop it over the top of the bale. And that's it, that's them fed. So it takes, a matter of about 30 minutes to move 100 cattle, bed them, spread their dung, and they're doing all the work. So basically the livestock are doing all the work on the farm.
2 minutes back for the cow.
Good. And our target in the winter time, we're looking for about 0.5. My growth rates this spring have not been as good as I would have expected, and there were 2 reasons, I believe, for that. One, a lot of my cattle were running at over 1 kilo a day coming out of last winter. And secondly, trying to keep on top of grass. We're having to leave cattle slightly longer in the paddock to get the grass down to the height, because what I'm really scared of is I'll suffer later if I let it go too far. And no doubt the experts will tell us this. And the cost per day in the winter time is 69 pence per day. So if you take that winter cost of 69 pence a day, and that includes baling, wrapping, seed, fertiliser, everything. If you take that in, my average for the year is 48.5p. If we take it 180-day winter, none of you will know what that is because you're not from hard places like me in Lanarkshire. But a 180-day winter, it works out at £177 a year to keep an animal, whereas if I was housing it at 150 a day is 270 just for the winter. Okay, to move the cattle there's no, once the cattle are in the system and they get to know, fat Irish guy appears in field, we're moving to fresh grass. How I move them is quite simple. Go to the field and go, hey! That's it. And they all come rundering over, fresh grass, we're going. And you literally roll the fence back and they walk through. There's no chasing, there's no shouting, there's no quad bikes, there's nothing. I walk many days, that's why I have such a sleek figure. So, just to finish off, because a lot of people believe that you can't outwinter, this is the 2nd of January this year. These are the cattle grazing. This is Swift. It was grown, and probably next year we'll switch across to everything will be Swift, and we'll come away completely from Keel because we're finding better disease resistance with the Swift. And I just thought this was interesting. I took this photograph and I suddenly realised we killed those two beasts in the last few weeks. So I thought you'd be interested to know. The far away one was killed on the 27th of May, and he killed out at 368 kilos. And his margin from the day he arrived on the farm to the day he was sold, the difference in the profit, he went £1.23 every day he was on the farm. And my target is £1. And my goal is to make £1 every animal that's on the farm. So I'm here today, there are 200 animals at home, I'll be here all day, and by the time I go home, they've made me 200 quid, I hope. This other one, he was killed the week before, at 364 kilos, and he made £1.28, or she made £1.28 per day. My thing is all about money. CAP, I know we're not supposed to mention it, CAP, my subsidy is going to reduce. The price of meat, beef in the last 6 months has dropped, what? Well, what is it today? I don't know. It scares the life out of me even to think about it. So the margin on every beast that I have is going to reduce. So the only option I have to go forward is to reduce my costs, because I'm going to have to live with an awful lot less money. I worked out last year that my income will drop if the margins, if the fat price stays where it is, and maybe it'll drop further, I'll have to live 30 grand less income this year. And there's very little I can do about that. And I also have the butcher's shop, so I can see it from the other side. The housewife is not going to pay an awful lot more money for her beef. If the future is probably, it's likely, we'll all be putting up pork sheds and chicken sheds and producing pork and producing chicken, because that's the meat that will sell, because it'll be cheap. So we need to be very aware that we need to drive our costs down. And just to finish off, these are my figures for the last few years. As I say, I'm trying to make £1 a day. This is the number of cattle, this is the year, this is the number of cattle we finished, and this was the gross profit per day. Thank you very much.